Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new series I'm starting on my channel called Chaos Park. This series will be a park built in No Limits 2, which will feature all different mounts of coasters, and a lot of them will be built in this styling with a build montage showing you from beginning to the end. So you see here, I'm just starting to build the first coaster of the park as I'm getting onto Lift Hill already. I built the brake run station first. This will be a B&M Invert coaster. I didn't really have a plan for this. I kind of just started building and I went, let's see where my creative mind will go. So I believe it sits around 160 feet tall. Yeah, you'll be able to see it in meters. I can't see it in the little viewing screen. This is my first time ever doing a voiceover style. I'm basing it off of a guy called Matt Lone who does KSP content. And yeah, I thought I'd give it a go. So you see here, I'm starting to try and figure out what I want this first drop to be. Like I said, I didn't really have a plan, so I wanted something unique, something quirky, a custom built. So here, I think, is where I decided, okay, why don't I have a very weird first drop? And the first drop is actually a zero G death roll. You see these on RMCs quite a lot, where they come over the top of the hill and then go into this roll on the way down. And you see that I'm riding it, just testing it out, constantly seeing what it'd be like for the rider. Um, and yeah, it's a very quirky first drop. You'll see later in the final build how it actually is. You see here, yep, just figuring out where I'm going after this. A lot of this you'll see build and add delete, and I come back and I get a new idea, and I go from there. So you see here, yeah, into the other side. Okay, why don't we go for a turnaround? So you see here, I'm just riding it, and yeah, this is a free program called Force Vector Design Plus Plus, FVD Plus Plus. And it basically allows me to design these very smooth, very intricate, very flowing roller coasters. It's all designed off the Force using heartlining. If anyone doesn't know what heartlining is, I can do a dedicated video to explain it. But heartlining is essentially where the roller coaster track goes around. It's usually based off around where the rider's heart is, thus the name heartlining. So here you can see I've built a lovely big zero G roll. I thought it'd be a very unique element, but you see them a lot more now. Um, B&M have built some amazing coasters over time, but I live in the UK. We have two B&M inverts. We have, of course, Nemesis and Nemesis Inferno, well, Nemesis Reborn now. And that's the only B&M invert I've ever figure out some elements which I would see on that coaster or on Nemesis Inferno and just go with my knowledge of B&M. So you see here, I've done a loop as well. One of my favorite elements on Nemesis Reborn is that loop. It's just amazingly placed in and around the scenery. So yeah, I'm giving it a ride. This was a very long build. It took me about a day to build, including designing and of course when eventually we get over into No Limits 2, and I had to kind of cut this down and speed up. So it's currently on 8 times speed, 8 times quicker than what it should be. I did mess up here, but I didn't notice until well later on. That is a 5G pull when it's put into no limits, which I didn't quite account for. There's a slight difference between no limits and FED. It's very slight, but it was noticeable on that turnaround. So yeah, getting another inversion in. Then here, just still seeing where do I want to go. Like I said, I still had no idea. I knew I wanted some slow turnarounds, which I think I'm going to build the first one around now. Yeah, there you go. And I knew I wanted a mid course, and that was everything apart from that. Maybe some cool rolls and some very weird, snappy elements. If you watch any of my previous videos, if you haven't, I advise you do, and you'll see my styling. I like some quirkiness. I don't like consistent, always like what you would see on maybe an Intamin style. That it's very you see the same sort of elements placed differently and maybe changed slightly, but they tend to flow. I like everything to be a bit quirky, a bit suddenly snappy, and then suddenly it'll do this, this, and that. I also am recording on my laptop, so if you see some quality issues or it's the frames jumping, anything like that, it's purely down to just using a laptop, which is not powerful enough. Can't afford a PC at the moment, but eventually I will get one. See here, yeah, I've added another little quirky zero G. I don't even know how to say it. It's a little airtime bump. And here I'm building up into the mid course. And you see I've gone for a little double up. Not something you would traditionally see on maybe a B&M invert, or to be fair, Vekoma style invert, but you see I'm just giving it a ride here. And yeah, I can see on my media player there's a little bit of issues, but should be fine. So you see, yep, and that will be about the first half. And now I'm starting on the second half, which I still had little to no idea on what I was doing. So I just thought, okay, let's see. I've got so much speed. Let's see what I can do. And here I decide to go for something very weird. A very slow 180-degree rotation into a I don't know how to describe it. It's what would it even be called? Don't know what it's called. It's just very weird. It's like a dive roll, but not quite a dive roll. It's like a half loop down. A half loop down is probably what it'd be called, into a little airtime bump, as you can see there. I would also like to just thank everyone. We've just hit, I believe, 14 subscribers now and 1,000 views, which is massive for someone who just makes coaster videos and streams random games whenever I feel like. So I would like to thank everyone so much. You see here, I've just built another little quick inversion. It's styled very heavily off of, here you can see I'm still forming it. It's styled very heavily on that first inversion on Nemesis Reborn. When I first rode it last year, that was probably one of the best moments on any coaster ever. It's so quick, snappy. Sorry about the cough. And it's just very weird. It's very odd, but I love it. It's one of my favorite versions on any coaster ever. And see now I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna get this back to the station. That that first row I placed is the brake run. Um, and I knew I wanted some speed, but maybe not too fast. You see here, I just couldn't quite form it without having to use lateral G-force, which I'm not very keen on. You see here, I'm like, oh, maybe I'll try to turn around, but it's too close to the loop for comfort. Of course, having to kind of eyeball the distances, and if anything's wrong later in No Limits, I will go back and restart the coaster if needs be. So here I thought, okay, well we'll go for a little snappy turnaround, and then we'll see how we can form it. And this, for me, is the longest part of building any roller coaster. See here, I'm trying to line it up. Didn't like it, so I got rid of it and started again. I think I got a quite decent one in the end. I'm recording this voiceover a week later. A week? Yeah, about 4 or 5 days later than when I built this and edited it all together. So I'm trying to remember what's going on, and I'm starting work on the next coaster is at the same time, so I'm just eyeballing this of what the little media player is showing me. You see here, I'm giving it a ride along, just seeing how it gets on. You see the quirkiness of that little dive roll. And yet, see, still haven't got quite the form I wanted on that last little bit. So once again, it's starting from fresh, rebuilding it. I'm hoping this media is recording. It doesn't look like it might not be. I might be re-recording all of this later. As my dog, if you can hear her, has decided to fall asleep and snore right next to me. See here, I'm just giving it a full ride now, as my media player is completely frozen. So I'm presuming it's going well. Yeah, it is struggling. My laptop's not built for this. So now we give it a full ride. I'm happy with what I've got, so I'm gonna then start building it in No Limits 2. You see, I'm just exporting it. That was loud. That was loud again. So I'm just exporting it here to see roughly what I would like. You see here, I'm just setting up No Limits to how I prefer to use it. I'm looking at naming it and selecting the coaster type and how long I want the trains, how many trains, and see I've imported it here. Um, Adjusting the height, and I'll adjust the ground height. And there we are, adjusted that. And now giving it a quick scan to make sure everything's exported. Now I'm going to start finishing the coaster. So this is where I connect it up, um, inserting a node, and then putting the brake run to connect to the final part. And here's where I made the first mistake of the build. I decided to put all the nodes to separate the track as style separators. Um, so essentially the whole track was a lift hill for a brief moment there. So sorting that out, you see here I'm just replacing them all with actual separators. Here's setting up the lift hill. It's quite a speedy lift hill. I'm not too happy with the little bit after the lift, before the lift hill, sorry, but um, we do what we must do. And in a second after all this, see it coming up on my little timeline. Here you go. Let's just give it a first ride. I will have to lower the volume because holy hell, that was very loud in my ears. He's giving it a first ride, and yeah, roughly happy with it. And here, the terrain has changed, and there is suddenly a ton of support. I forgot to record myself building the terrain that I wanted and putting the first set of supports in. Luckily, I found out that I'd messed it up, and I need to correct the supports anyway. So, awful videography for me, videography, whatever it is. See here now I'm just starting again, seeing what I want, adjusting them. The terrain I will do a video showing next time me building terrain for a coaster. I do it very randomly. I'm very inconsistent. I like to come up with little ideas like the big hill where the lift hill sits and a hill on the turnaround. Apart from that, I just go off of what I think would be cool. I'm a massive fan of train coasters. We don't have too many over here in the UK. I mean, there's Nemesis, of course. It's definitely a train coaster. 13 kind of is, but it's a bit more hilly. So we don't have too many. So thought I'd give it a go, and I quite enjoy them. So you're putting the supports on. I'm a massive fan of having far too many supports for what I need. So here you can see there is an awful lot of supports. And I also didn't custom support the loop, just for due to the No Limits was struggling already. Um, it I wanted to do a lot more detail on this coaster, and you'll see later on that didn't get doing. You see here, I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to support the loop. So I just went for a single support. So we'll just pretend it's a very strong metal that they're using. So here I'm putting the rest of the supports on the turnarounds, on the little loops. And here I'm coming up with a color scheme. You see here I'm sat there for a moment. This is genuinely me asking ChatGPT what colors it would recommend. I have a terrible eye for color, despite being an architect by my uni degree that I'm doing. So I just asked ChatGPT for an idea, and you see here I've gone for a red design, um, setting up with blue trains. Instantly didn't like the support colors, so I went for a green instead. Hated the black. There's two different colors up there. The blue trains, I think, came out fantastically. You see, I'm just adjusting some timings. Here I'm setting up the logic I use. I use a mod called Block Logic, something like that. It's quite a good mod. So I can use these boxes and it will automatically script the coaster. So I've always used those. And here I'm setting up scenery. Once again, scenery, I don't really have ideas. There's a couple I had, but mainly like the trees in there that I quite like. Some closer to the track, a bit further away. If you've seen my Vortexion ride, Vortexon, whatever everyone wants to call it, you'll see when I put a lot of effort into my terrain and my scenery. But this is the first coaster, so this one's gonna be a standalone, and then we'll have some more that go in and out of each other. So here, just adjusting everything, adjusting my settings so I can actually, use No Limits when there's so much going on. Most of these rides will sit without being fully done like this when I'm building the others. And here I'm setting up the paths. I didn't really have an idea for the paths. I didn't want to build a full queue path. And you see here the paths wouldn't connect. No Limits has a very nice path building tool, but I'm still god awful with it. See, I added a little queue bit, but nothing too major. I just wanted the major in and outs of where people walk, and we can pretend that they're actually paths. So here I actually had the path tool. I added some grass around the area. You see here, I'm just randomly clicking. It gives the area a little bit more strength. And I believe that is the final ride. So I'll let you ride along. my review as well. I don't actually put it, so I'll take it up while I'm recording this. And hopefully the future support that is given me. Obviously, scientists and music, and I will leave you with the thank you so much for watching. Please do like, subscribe, comment, share, tell your friends. If you're interested in this sort of thing, it helps me out.